August 1st marks the day nearly 200 years ago that slavery was abolished throughout the British Empire. In the United States, in the Caribbean, and here in Canada, people are celebrating Emancipation Day.
Emancipation Day not only is an acknowledgement and a reminder of what we've accomplished so far, but also a reminder of what's left to be done.
That was a highlight as a kid. That was a highlight event for the year. Like, it was always, summer vacation, but can't wait till Emancipation Day.
Huge, but at the same time it's hurtful because, seeing that we have to be set free for something that shouldn't even be in the first place.
There is racial tension and that sort of thing going on, but we still have to live together. We have to work together. We have to try and get along.
It allows people to take a step back and ask themselves, okay, what's going on where I live and how can I further educate myself on my own history, my own country's history, and what's left to be done.
There you heard some voices reflecting on the significance of this day. And on this anniversary, there are growing calls for this day to be recognized nationally. Right now, Emancipation Day is only officially recognized in Ontario. Nova Scotia Senator Wanda Thomas Bernard has been at the forefront of those calls. 2 years ago, she introduced a bill in the Senate to put Emancipation Day on the national calendar. And now she's urging all Canadians to recognize August 1st, even if politicians won't. Senator Wanda Thomas Bernard joins us now from East Preston, Nova Scotia. Welcome to the program. We appreciate having you on.
Thank you very much for your interest in this topic.
I think it's very important. So let's start first by asking you the importance of this day to you.
The importance of this day signifies our history, the full history of African people in this country, but it also signifies the activism of our ancestors, how they came together across jurisdictions, so across provincial, but also across country lines, to really talk about the freedom that we sought. But because even though August 1st marked the end of legalized slavery, it didn't mark the end of anti-Black racism. So marking this day signals to the country that we're still here, that we recognize this history, we honor our ancestors, but we also know that there's still much more to be done.
And in particular, the significance this year as well.
I have often said that the pandemic of COVID has collided with the pandemic of racism. Those of us who experience racism, who live with racism, who survive anti-Black racism, we've always known the significance. Mm-hmm. And we've known that Black lives matter. The middle of the day killing of George Floyd by police officers while other police watched and while they knew they were being filmed, that galvanized people around the world and signaled to people around the world that the violence of racism is real, mm-hmm. that the trauma of racism is real. And so at this moment in time, what we're witnessing are people around the world taking a stand in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I truly hope that it's a movement and not just a moment. This needs to be more than a moment.
How does it continue so that it remains a movement and not just a moment?
Having Emancipation Day nationally recognized would signal to the rest of the country that this is a part of our history. It's a history that we need to acknowledge. It's a history that we need to understand. It's a history that we need to understand in the context of today's Black Lives Matter movement. And it's a history that we need to build from. So we need to have an apology, have that acknowledgement. And we need to also look at reparations in the fullest extent of what that means to Black Canadians.
Now, you tried in the past in a private member's bill in the Senate to have this become a national recognized day. Why did that fail? And do you think that that will change? Do you think that you can try again and get it passed?
That the bill that I had tried to advance in the Senate didn't pass because of politics. And
explain that a little bit.
Well, to get beyond second reading, it would have needed to have a motion passed in the Senate to have that happen.
Right.
Prior to the close of the last Senate session, last parliamentary session, we were not able to get it back on the order paper. And if something is not on the order paper, then it cannot possibly come to a vote. I firmly believe that if it had been allowed to come to a vote, it would have passed. Now what's happening in this current parliamentary session, MP Majid Jahari from Richmond Hill, Ontario, he's put forward a motion to have Emancipation Day recognized. That motion did not come before the House of Commons for a vote because of COVID.
Right.
And I firmly believe that when the House resumes normal sittings, and I hope that's in the fall, when this motion comes to a vote there, I believe that it will pass. And I will introduce a similar motion in the Senate when we are back to our normal sittings as well. And I believe at this point in time, it will pass. I believe it will pass because the consciousness of the nation has been awakened because of the murder of George Floyd, because of the pandemic of racism, because people have had time to pause, to reflect, and to truly listen in a way that they could hear the trauma, hear the reality of racism. Many of us across this country have been fighting for to have anti-Black racism addressed for years and years and years. It's finally become a mainstream agenda through the sacrifice of the life of George Floyd.
And
we have to make that mean something.
And it's unbelievable that we're in 2020 and we're actually having this discussion. So when the bill passes, what still needs to be done to ensure greater education surrounding the topic of emancipation right here in our country?
I believe that one of the things that will happen when this motion passes is that it will signal the need across the country for this to be included in curricula at all levels. So in the elementary school, in the secondary school, in post-secondary education, there needs to be that level of education. But I also want to signal to all Canadians from coast to coast to coast, we don't have to wait for this bill to pass in the House of Commons to pause and reflect, but also to act. I think it's really important that we think about individual actions that we can take in addition to the actions that we demand that government takes, in addition to the actions that we demand that our systems take. We also need those individual actions. So we can all look and make a determination on the things that we can do differently to help address racism in this country. We have to own it. We have to name it. And then we have to have the will, the political will, to address it.
Senator, it was such a pleasure to have this discussion with you today. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Senator Wanda Thomas Bernard joining us from East Preston, Nova Scotia.